Hi, it's Rob Moore here and welcome to Disruptors. Today we are interviewing the very disruptive politician, Nigel Farage. As you'll see in this discussion, Nigel's quite a controversial politician. So you ready? Then let's get straight in. But just before we do, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the Disruptors channel and turn the notification bell on. Because I think this is a fascinating moment in time we're in. Like you said, paradox. So Joe Rogan had Robert Malone on his show, a scientist talking about, who I'm talking to in a few days' time, about, you know, the science behind the vaccines, immediately shut down off Twitter and YouTube. Donald Trump obviously completely shut down from Facebook and Twitter. And there's more, David Icke. I interviewed David Icke and we got the video up, nearly 1 million views in 5 days, and then bang, shut down, and our entire YouTube channel shadow banned.
Yeah.
So where's the line here? Where does it go?
Okay. Well, I mean, I had Robert Malone on GB News, right? And none of the other UK broadcasters would dare touch it. I have been trying to push this debate. You know, by the way, I've had both jabs, but I haven't had the booster. And I'm really thoughtful now about whether I have the booster. And I've been sharing that with my audience most evenings on GB News. And so, thank goodness, at least with television, you know, the second part of your first question, thank goodness with television, at least GB News is now having these debates. So I've had Robert Malone on, and it's very interesting because I have to provide balance for Ofcom. I mean, and actually, it's right that people sitting at home turning telly on do get balance. They make their own minds up. So I had Robert Malone on giving his views. I then had a chap on, you know, one of the former bosses of the Royal College of Surgeons, you know, top drawer, to provide the counterbalance to Malone. And he begins by saying, I have the most utmost respect for Robert Malone. His work in this field has been absolutely legendary. So it was really quite interesting the way that it went. Where do you draw the line? David Icke, to my knowledge, has never incited violence, to my knowledge. I would say, though, that some of the things that he said are pretty way out there on the conspiracy spectrum. As you say, where do you draw the line? It is very, very difficult with this stuff. It is very, very difficult. But I do think around vaccines, I do think the way big government are bullying people, are making people leave the healthcare sector. I had a nurse on the programme on GB News last night who loses her job on the 1st of April. She doesn't want the vaccine. She's quite happy to be tested every day. So what's the problem? What's the problem? I mean, if you could say to me, you have the booster, Nigel, and you then can't catch COVID and you can't spread COVID, I might then think pushing hard would be a good idea. All I get is have the booster, and if you get ill, you'll be less ill. Well, I'd be less ill if I didn't smoke 40 a day. You know, I'd be less ill if I wasn't 25, I'm not, but if I was 25 stone. But you see what I mean? There are all sorts of health choices that or lifestyle choices that we make that affect health outcomes. And so I am standing up and fighting hard for the right of people to live a normal human existence as unvaccinated people, even though I've been vaccinated myself. And I think, you know, these are points about liberty, about freedom of choice, and actually back to where we started, about how big a government we really want to have and how much freedom we want to have. So this stuff matters, and I think you'll find Malone very, very interesting.
So if I could articulate that into a position, because I understand the sensitivity of this. I personally think that everybody should be able to have their say, including David Icke. But I think the line is where it causes harm to people.
Yes.
And David Icke, that I've seen, hasn't caused any harm, and Joe Rogan certainly hasn't caused any harm, and Robert Malone certainly hasn't caused any harm. Some people tell me that some of the big tech channels are driven by the advertisers, and the advertisers not wanting certain...
Well, you see, there we are. Now we're straight back to another conversation we had about corporate versus small business. The corporate world's gone crackers. Absolutely crackers. Even this morning, Terry Smith, the very successful fund manager, is attacking Unilever heavily. You know,
just to define, what does the corporate world has gone crackers mean?
So, one of Unilever's products is Hellmann's mayonnaise, right? So Terry Smith's argument as a major investor handling nearly 40 billion quid's worth of investors' cash is, you're Unilever, just sell me Hellmann's mayonnaise. tell me it's good. Don't tell me by buying Helmers we're saving the planet and we're all going to have a great future. It's all this corporate social responsibility. We're doing this, we're doing that. When actually, all they're doing, really, is selling products. And it's the whole wokeness, it's the whole... Black Lives Matter is perhaps the best illustration I can ever think of. Here is an overtly Marxist, dangerous organisation that want to bring about the end of Western capitalism, defund police forces, and actually divide black people from white people by filling them with a sense of resentment about things that have gone wrong in our history and things that may be going wrong today. And yet, in the wake of George Floyd's death, you saw corporate brand after corporate brand endorsing and supporting Black Lives Matter. Complete and utter madness. And yet for those of us back at the time that were standing up and saying this, I mean, they made our lives hell. And yet it was the truth. And yet the corporate world went with it. So I think the corporate world has really lost sight of what it is. It's become overtly political. And I think that, ironically, in the right environment, creates huge opportunities for small and medium-sized businesses.
Yeah, the little disruptors.
Oh, well, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. You know, when you see a consensus forming among the big corporates, that creates opportunity.
Do you not get scared about being branded a racist or whatever by, you know, making statements like that? Do you feel sometimes misjudged?
Well, hang on a second. You know, the reason I could talk on Black Lives Matter in this country is in America, I'd come across them before. And telling the truth about Black Lives Matter cost me a lot. Cost me a lot in terms of being cancelled from various things, but it was the truth. And I didn't say it in an aggressive way, I said it in a purely factual way. I invited people to come back and argue with me and counter with me. It's funny, you know. I get called racist a lot by people with names like Jago and Hugo and Sebastian and Jocasta. Sort of upper middle class white people, you know, filled with guilt because they live in Daddy's £5 million house. I mean, you know, they're the ones that tear down statues in Bristol, and they're the ones that call you racist. When I go out in the community, with the black community, or people are always coming up and saying hello and let's have a selfie and all the rest of it. So look, you know, it's almost a sort of way of trying to close down debate. Throw abuse, call people this, call people that. It's pretty objectionable. I don't like it. But I'm afraid that's the tactic they use. And it was interesting because they tried to do this in my political career. Do you know what? They never succeeded because it wasn't true.
So I hope you enjoyed the video. Now, if you like this, we have a full, deep interview, the uncut, unedited version. So if you want to watch that, the link is below. But first, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel.